Greetings, booktubers. Welcome back to Grammaticus Books. Welcome to Sunday Comics and a hidden Sunday Comic Gem edition of Grammaticus Books. And today we're going back to 1982 for a hidden comic book gem from Marvel graphic novel number 2, Elric and the Dreaming City. Now, this is Roy Thomas's adaptation of the story by Michael Moorcock, the original Elric story from 1961, The Dreaming City. And Roy Thomas here in 1982 in Marvel Comics and Marvel graphic novel number 2 does a fantastic job adapting that novella by Michael Moorcock from 1961 and getting it here condensed into a graphic novel format. And he does it wonderfully, and he does it exceptionally faithful to the original novella. He gets all the key elements in here. You feel like you're reading the entire novella, like Roy Thomas got it in there without losing anything here in this limited format, and it's just done spectacularly by Roy Thomas. I really got to take my hats off to Roy Thomas about how well he was able to adapt the story and get it in here into the graphic novel form. Now, the art in here is done by P. Craig Russell. P. Craig Russell worked on Killraven and on Doctor Strange for Marvel Comics, and his work on Doctor Strange stood him in good stead. He's the perfect artist in terms of his style in order to render this story here of Elric. He has a very elegant, a very graceful style that's full of detail and embellishment, and it fits very well to into an Elric story, into the Elric universe. Better even than I think if they had gotten John Buscema to do this. And John Buscema is one of my favorite artists of all time, but I don't think John Buscema's style would have meshed as well as P. Craig Russell's does here with Elric and the Dreaming City. He just does some wonderful art. He's especially talented when he's doing his establishing shots and when he's rendering his backgrounds. They're just lush, they're beautiful, they're rendered spectacularly, and he's not only doing the pencils, P. Craig Russell's doing the pencils, the inks, and the colors in here, and it all blends just perfectly. Now, he does have a weakness. His weakness is when he gets into action and combat scenes. His figures are stiff, his action is stiff, but the rest of it is so gorgeous that I forgive it, and then you have this absolutely fantastic adaptation by Roy Thomas. And what you wind up with is just a hidden comic book gem from 1982. And again, this is Elric and the Dreaming City. This is the original story where Elric starts off plotting with a band of reavers, of sea reavers and raiders, in order to assemble a giant fleet in order to attack his home city of Immer, the Dreaming City, and so he can dethrone and kill the usurper Urkun, and then win back his love Cimmeril, who is the sister of Urkun, who Urkun has placed into a magical slumber within the Dreaming City. Think Snow White, and you've got it right on the nose. So he wants his vengeance, and he wants his love back. So he's going to betray the Dreaming City, lead the Sea Raiders through all their defenses that he knows so well, use his sorcerer's talents in order to get past the sorcery protecting the Dreaming City, sack it, burn it to the ground, and get back his love. And that is the story that we're going to go through here. I'll show you the art. P. Craig Russell, again, his establishing shots, his backgrounds, his rendering of magic and sorcery is just fantastic. It's beautifully done. And then you get the action scenes that are very stiff. I would even call them awkward, but I'll let you guys judge. So here on the inside cover, you get a nice little shot of the Dreaming City. And again, just beautifully rendered. Gives you a little taste of what you're in for. And then you immediately get a close-up of Elric brooding, contemplating his revenge with the deep, brooding eyes. Really love that close-up. That's out of one of the panels here in the book. And then we move on to a nice collage shot of Elric thinking of the Dreaming City, setting up the story. Just gorgeously rendered. The embellishment in here is wonderful. And the colors. P. Craig Russell, he's doing the pencils, and he's doing the pencils knowing what colors he wants to use. So his colors match the pencils and the inks perfectly. Meeting with the Sea Reavers and Elric where they're establishing their plot. And I won't go through every single panel, but I'm going to just point out some of the highlights in here for you guys to see. Here we get 2 pages of Elric working his sorcery and his magic. And again, I really love P. Craig's style, P. Craig Russell's style on it. He really knows how to render Elric, and he knows how to render sorcery and make it look convincing and just a a beautiful look to it. Here he is calling in the four winds in order to propel his sailboat to get him to the Dreaming City so that he can do a little secret mission before the attack. And I love how he has rendered the winds that he's called down into his sails. Very imaginative. And then you get a full page here of the Dreaming City as a sailboat comes into the harbor. And again, just what spectacular backgrounds that Russell is able to do here. Just love them. And inside the Dreaming City, he is attempting to meet with his loved one, Cimmeril. And then he runs up in a fight with a eunuch, and you can see what I'm talking about with the very stiff action scenes. But the rest of it is so gorgeously rendered that I forgive him his stiffness on these action scenes. Because then you get this, where he gets up next to his lover, Cimmeril, and he's standing next to her, and you've got the candles and the candlelight, and she's laid out in the bed. And it's just beautiful. There's no other way to describe it. His artwork just is stunning. And it's all married up with this fantastic adaptation by Roy Thomas. And it gives you just a terrific comic book here. So he fails in his mission. He goes back to the Sea Reavers, and they launch their invasion fleet. And here they are coming under the direction of Elric in order to penetrate the defenses of Immer, the Dreaming City, and bring it to its knees. And then you get this wonderful double splash page of the raiding fleet approaching the Dreaming City. Just gorgeously done. The colors match it perfectly. Beautiful establishing shots setting up the rest of the story. And then you get some action, or we're preparing for action. And the fleet assaults, the raiders assault the Dreaming City. And you can see what I'm talking about. It gets a little awkward. His figures get a little stiff. He could have used some lessons in how to portray violence and action. Here's another very stiff action panel down here on the bottom. But as the raiders are assaulting the Dreaming City and bringing it to its knees, getting ready to burn it to the ground, as Elric has commanded them to do, Elric sets off. He diverts away from them on his side quest, which is to rescue his love, Cimmeril, the sister of Urkun the Usurper. And he goes up. She is being held in the Tower of Baal Nesbet, is the highest and most sinister tower connected to the royal palace, which is where Urkun has imprisoned her in her magical slumber. And you get this rendering here of the Tower of Baal Nesbet that is just spectacular. I just love that to death. It's one of the best evil wizard towers in comic book art form, in my opinion. And then the colors, the purples and the blacks, just make it radiate evil. And then I forgive him for all of his stiff action scenes, because he makes up for it there. And of course, waiting for him, between him and his lover Cimmeril, interposing himself, is Urkun the Usurper, who has Stormbringer's sister sword, Mournblade. And you get a great little battle scene here between Elric with Stormbringer and Urkun with the Mournblade. The two black blades face off. And it's not really the combatants. Elric and Urkun aren't the ones wielding the blades. The blades are wielding themselves with a will of their own in a contest. And it's decently done. Again, it is stiff, like particularly down here in this bottom panel. The magic and the blades are gorgeous, but the action leaves something to be desired. The battle continues. Cimmeril awakes in the middle of the battle, and her brother Urkun grabs her and sacrifices her to Stormbringer. And she dies in the battle. Elric is forlorn. He's lost. His quest has failed. But as Urkun has sacrificed her, he too dies. And then his soul gets sucked down in the pits of hell here in this far panel on the left. And just what a great panel there of his soul being pulled out down into the depths of hell. Wonderfully rendered by P. Craig Russell. And again, then you forgive him for all of his stiff action shots, because you get those payoffs there. In the meantime, the Reaver fleet has looted and razed the city, loaded their booty on their ships, and they are fleeing Immer the Dreaming City with all of their loot, when the giant golden fleet of Immer pulls out of the harbor to pursue them. And these are just massive ships. You can see the scale comparison right down here. They're coming and they're going to crush the small raider ships. And Elric has to call down the four winds again in order to power the sails of the raiding fleet, to power them away, to sail them away at higher speed and avoid the danger and the trap of these giant golden fleet that the Dreaming City has at its defense, at its beck and call. But unfortunately, that's not the only defenses that the Dreaming City has. They also have the Dragon Riders. The Dragon Riders awake from their slumber, and they come out, and the Raider fleet cannot outrun the Dragon Riders. And Elric is forced to take his sorcerous ways and pull his sorcery away from the fleet to reduce their wind so that he can power his own ship in order to escape the dragons, because he can't save everybody. And so he betrays the fleet, the Raider fleet, that he convinced to attack the city, and they are burned to the ground, and all is lost. And so you get your typical exceptionally depressing Elric story. At the end of it, Elric is so upset with himself, so overcome with grief and the total failure of his mission. He tries to throw Stormbringer overboard, but it won't sink into the water. It hits the water like it's a plank of wood instead, and then it summons him over to retain it, to regain the sword and his curse. And then so ends Elric in the Dreaming City. And I think you can see why this is really a hidden comic book gem. Again, the adaptation by Roy Thomas is excellent. It's exceptionally faithful. It really carries this novel through here. And then P. Craig Russell just knocks it out of the park with his establishing shots, his depictions of magic and sorcery, and the backdrops that he does, which makes up for his very stiff and awkward action scenes. But at the end of the day, if you're an Elric fan, you're going to love the adaptation because it's so faithful. You're going to love the artwork because it fits into the whole Elric motif and the whole Elric universe so perfectly there by P. Craig Russell. It's kind of a must-have if you're a big Elric fan. If you want this, you should have it in your collection. And it's easy to get. You can get this off of Amazon right now for $15, or you can get it off of eBay for $15. No problems. Because it's a hidden comic book gem and there's not a lot of demand for it because a lot of people don't know about it. But now you guys know about it. So if you want to pick this one up, it's easy to do. I do recommend it. Give you guys a pretty good preview of what you're getting into, what you got there for your $15. And with that, I'm going to wrap this one up and say take care, be safe, and I will catch you guys next time.